Good morning. Thank you for joining me for another virtual news conference. This is day 78, who's counting, of our battle with coronavirus. More than 38,000 cases in Georgia, more than 1,600 deaths, including over 363 cases and 14 deaths in Chatham County. Admittedly, I remain concerned about this huge influx of people on our streets and the number of people who are not exercising social distancing or wearing face coverings. Our friends on Tybee Island experienced huge crowds last weekend, and our entire community is expecting even larger crowds during this coming holiday weekend. Unfortunately, some folks still don't get it. But I digress. Well, let me go back. Through the city attorney's office, we think we found a legal path forward in requiring those within the city of Savannah limits to wear face coverings whenever out in the public space. And so we will maintain that and consider our options as it relates to that and reserve the right to use that authority if the need seems fit. As promised last week, City Manager Pat Monahan and his leadership team have completed the city's plan for how to move forward in reopening city government as a part of our Resilient Savannah plan. The Savannah Safer Services Reopening Plan is a phased approach for reopening city facilities, programs, and services that is focused on moving gradually through 5 phases when the science indicates that it's safe to do so. Phase 1 will focus on high priority services, including the reintroduction of recycling and yard waste collection. We will enter Phase 1 when the COVID-19 metrics on positive tests, hospitalizations, and deaths are stable or declining for a period of 14 days. Progression to each new phase will occur at a minimum of every 14 days, and throughout the phases, there will be increased precautions to keep everyone safe, including social distancing, face coverings, and temperature checks. The 5th and final phase will be the reopening of City Hall to the public without restrictions. Later on today, the Safer Services Plan will be made available on the City of Savannah's website. As Savannah's economy continues to reopen, your city is continuing to find creative ways to help local businesses do it safely. A new citywide outdoor dining pilot program is now available for restaurants wanting to expand their dining services at a safe distance. Restaurants must apply for this program through the Office of Special Events, Film, and Tourism. You can find program guidelines, the presentation shown to City Council last week, and the application itself on the city website. At the close of business yesterday, 4 businesses have applied to participate, and 1 is approved for a street closure. This is a pilot program that will run through June the 15th, and city staff will reassess the program at that time. This is also another gentle reminder that bars and nightclubs remain closed through the end of the month per the governor's order. Simply put, if you are a bar, you cannot suddenly decide to serve food to get around the rules. Food service requires inspection and approval of the Georgia Department of Public Health. This past weekend, and I witnessed some of this, there were several businesses that did not seem to understand that bars and nightclubs are closed. They did not seem to understand that we do not have a hybrid license anymore and that we are currently in a pandemic. Some businesses were warned, others were cited, and again, be warned that there is a zero tolerance policy for this type of dangerous activity this week and the holiday weekend. Please do not risk the long-term viability of your business for short-term gain. It is simply not worth it. Area businesses can continue to take the Savannah Safe Pledge. As you know, the city partnered with local businesses and tourist organizations to create and roll out this voluntary initiative. In just the first week, this program has exceeded our wildest expectations. Almost 500 businesses of all kinds throughout this area have committed to following CDC and FDA recommendations for cleaning and sanitizing. We know that our business community needs to get back to work, and we are thankful that so many are making the health and safety of their employees and customers a top priority. These are unprecedented times, especially for businesses. So the city's Summer 500 Youth Employment Program will not happen this year. We must focus. We must allow our businesses to focus on providing long-term employment for our citizens during this historic unemployment crisis. Next summer, we hope to debut our rebranded and retooled Summer Youth Employment Program. Our yard waste contractor and city staff have completed collection from all areas of the city. We have been advised that there were some spots that might have been missed. If your collection inadvertently did not happen, please help us by calling 311 and getting it picked up. Call 311 and get it picked up. We also know that the keys to getting past COVID-19 is widespread testing. The Coastal Health District is hosting COVID-19 testing every day in Savannah by appointment. Anyone, regardless of symptoms, can be tested. Please call 912-230-9744 to begin the appointment process. 912-230-9744 to begin the appointment process. The call center hours are Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturday from 8:30 a.m. to 5 o'clock p.m. Appointments are also and often available the same day you call. We also want to thank our health partners, the J.C. Lewis Health Center and the Curtis Cooper Health Center. They have been doing testing for quite some time. They continue to do those tests, and you can contact them as well for testing. And again, we thank them for being partners and making sure that our folks are getting tested. Thanks to a partnership between the Los Angeles-based Bella Canvas and the U.S. Conference of Mayors, we have over 4,500 cloth face coverings that we are giving away for free to Savannahans. Anyone who still needs a face covering can pick one up from the front desk of City Hall during regular business hours. You can also pick up a face covering from the following Savannah fire stations. Station 4, 2401 Augusta Avenue in West Savannah. Station 9, 2235 Capitol Avenue on the east side behind Savannah High School. Station 11, 11844 Apache Avenue on the south side behind the Savannah Mall. And Station 13, 11 McKenna Drive near the airport. You can pick them up Thursday and Friday from 9 to 11 and from 1 to 3 while supplies last. We've also have given face coverings to Parent University, who have already begun dispersing them throughout our community, as well as each alderman of city council has received a quantity of them, so they have those as well. And we will be delivering some to the J.C. Lewis at Primary Health Care and the Curtis Cooper Primary Health Care, so they will have them at those locations as well. Now, the masks do not mean anything. The cloth face coverings do not mean anything if you're not wearing them properly. So please be sure to cover your nose and your mouth when wearing your face covering. This is not the way to wear your face covering. Doesn't work. This is not the way to wear your face covering. That doesn't work either. The proper way is that your nose is covered, your mouth is covered. That's the proper way to wear your face covering. It should fit you snugly but comfortably across and against the side of your face. It should allow breathing without restriction and be washed and dried regularly. Children under 2 should not wear face coverings. Many of you know early voting, in-person voting started on yesterday and goes through June the 5th. As we know, the election is on June the 9th. You can vote in person Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the Chatham County Voter Registration Office, 1117 Eisenhower Drive, Suite E. Saturday early in-person voting will be on May 30th at the main office. That's this Saturday, well, next Saturday. Next Saturday, right? Okay. That's from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Saturday in-person voting on May 30th from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the main office. You could also request an absentee ballot to vote by mail, and you can call 912-790-1520. 912-790-1520 for more information. Please, again, continue to encourage your friends and neighbors to take the 2020 census. We're doing a little better, but we're still less than 50% of our city counted. It's simple. You can fill it out online, on the phone, or by mail. It takes less than 10 minutes to shape Savannah's future for the next 10 years. The census determines how much money our city and our state get from the federal government and for programs that are very much needed in our community, like the National School Lunch, SNAP, Head Start, and after-school activities. It also determines fundings for roads and bridges and for how you are represented in Washington, D.C. So please, call, text, email, even put on your mask and knock on your neighbor's door, then back up 6 feet to remind them to complete their census. Please, we are counting on you to help us all be counted. I think also, next to finally, unfortunately, there will be no 4th of July fireworks show on the Savannah River this year. I know we are all ready to get back to our normal celebrations, but folks, the risk of crowding so many people in such a confined area is just too big of a risk for us to take right now. It is simply not worth it. Maybe we'll find a way to do some virtual fireworks. We've gotten real creative with virtual things. We are working with our partners to come up with an alternative Independence Day celebration that promotes more social distancing but allows us to have a fun time to look for in the not so distant future. We will update you when we have more details on that. In terms of City Council, last week we were able to finally adopt rules of council. This was our 8th iteration in doing this, and so we were able to finally get that passed. The most interesting thing after going through this process is that nothing really has changed about how our council operates. The difference was that now we have codified rules about how we govern ourselves, and then we also have the Robert's Rules of Order. Also, there were some issues of land that were discussed, and my position is and remains, because land remains at a premium, the city of Savannah has to be extremely careful of how we deal with our land, the land that we have left. We know, and we've all said, that affordable housing continues to be the hallmark of what we're trying to do to make sure Savannah remains affordable. And all of our council members have said this was a priority for them, and so I have been a proponent and continue to be a proponent of a very, very specialized, intentional planning process that includes public input and the science for the highest and best use of the land. The city of Savannah cannot afford to be a part of the gentrification process across the city. And so I think the way you do that is that you have to involve people, you have to engage people in a very high level, very inclusive, very intentional way. And so my position remains for the properties that we have left, that we move in this manner to make sure that everybody's on the same sheet of music, that we're all discussing the same thing in the public space, in public time, about how this will allow us to make the best use of the land that we have. Remember, how we use land now will speak to us decades to what happens in the future. We know here at the City of Savannah that we've been dealing with issues of land use for quite some time, and because land was allowed to be used in a certain way now, we are still dealing with those effects. So again, I'm a fan of progress, I'm a fan of a plan, and we need to have, again, bring in the professionals that help us to do that, make sure that our citizens are fully involved and engaged, and regardless of where a particular piece of land is located, if it belongs to the city of Savannah, it belongs to everybody. And so everybody needs to be a part of these processes. I remain mindful and grateful of the many professionals who continue to work in safety-sensitive, healthy, helping, transportation and informational positions to keep us healthy, safe, connected, moving, and supplied. And I thank you for what you do, seen and unseen, during these extraordinary times. Often when I leave City Hall, it happened yesterday, happened this morning, I see ships still going back and forth on the Savannah River. And I'm reminded of those Savannah professionals who continue to pilot, unload, load, and maintain this essential piece of our economy that has not stopped since this crisis has occurred. So just quick little shout outs and thank you to the Savannah River pilots and port employees and the members of the International Longshoremen Associations, Local 1414, 1475, and 2046. Thank the working people of our community. Thank you for all you do. May God bless you and may God continue to bless the city of Savannah. These are my prepared updates at this time, and I'm ready to entertain any questions.
Good morning, Mayor.
Good morning, Leanne. How are you?
I'm good. Tell me about the masks again. Where did they come from, the face coverings that y'all were going to give away?
Sure. They came through a partnership that I have with the U.S. Conference of Mayors. This represents mayors from all over the country. Okay. Right. And a company called Bella Canvas, B-E-L-L-A Canvas, C-A-N-V-A-S. They are a Los Angeles-based company. They are a apparel company. They make T-shirts and essentially partnered with the U.S. Conference of Mayors and reached out to me. I told them, of course, we want masks. And within maybe 2 days, we had boxes of masks here. I mean, again, not masks. Again, and we have to be careful. I want to use them interchangeably. Face coverings.
Right.
Again, people are using medical masks. The reality is that unless you're working in a medical field, you don't need medical masks. And we really would like to reserve those supplies for our first responders and those that are in those things. But for most people, cloth face coverings will do. This was one that was made for me. And again, we know that before we go to the point of where we require everybody in Savannah to have a mask, we have to make sure, or have a face covering, we have to make sure that we are making face coverings available. And so this creates an opportunity for us to get them out, particularly to our families, particularly to our children, to make sure that they know how to wear and properly wear a face covering, and they're educated on the purpose. These are washable, they're reusable, and again, we know that they do not stop the infections. We know that as a variant, that it does dramatically slow down the droplets from coming from your mouth or nose into somebody else's mouth or nose. We thank them for that. Again, we're going to make sure we make them available to as many people in our community as possible.
And in a follow-up to that, you mentioned there might be a legal way to require face coverings. Is there a trigger that will make you go further with that, or what's the thinking there?
If things don't look better and if things are not getting better, I think that's the deal. I mean, I was downtown this weekend. I'm sure many of you were as well. People are coming here from outside of our community. Again, we can't stop them from coming. We're a welcoming community. We're glad they're here. We want them to take care of themselves and take care of the folks that they're going to encounter. And so if people won't do it voluntarily, then I think we now have it within our ability to do it mandatorily. And I do not want to go there. I would rather people just voluntarily understand. And again, people have been really somewhat mean to me about this. We're not trying to take anybody's freedom away. We're not trying to do substantial government overreach. We're not trying to be Big Brother. We're just trying to keep people safe. And that's the bottom line. I don't see anywhere in the Constitution where it says that governments don't have the responsibility and the ability to take care of people. I don't see it anywhere in the Declaration of Independence or we're depriving someone of certain unalienable rights. Again, this is an opportunity for people to be safe. And we are going to model the behavior that we seek. City manager, as you know, mandated all city employees should wear face coverings when out in the public space. And again, we want people to do that voluntarily. But I will not hesitate to pull that trigger if I need to. Okay. Anyone else? Hey, Miss Alex, good morning.
Hi. So I wanted to ask, Mr. Mayor, a little bit more details about the outdoor dining plan. You had mentioned, I think in the last press conference, that this would probably require you to kind of shut down some streets and maybe limit some parking. So now that this is officially something that people can apply for, is that still the case? Did you have to get rid of some of those things?
Yes. Again, that's why it's done on a case-by-case basis. I want to emphasize that this is a citywide initiative, and this business is citywide. Now, some businesses naturally, because of where they are, can't do it, and so we're interested in those applications. There are some, just by definition or where they are, won't be able to do it. I cannot see us doing outdoor dining anywhere on Bay Street. I mean, just it's not practical. But there are areas in which there's less traffic where we are able to manage that. So that's why it's on a case-by-case basis. And again, it's really based on the location of the business and what are the physical attributes of that area.
Okay. And then my follow-up question, well, actually has nothing to do with that question, but city pools, what is your kind of stance on opening those up, the public pools?
We're still in conversations with this. Again, my point is that in a perfect world, we probably wouldn't have any summer activities. In reality, we have to. We serve too many young people. And I know they're driving their parents crazy. Young people have boundless amounts of energy. I'm sure, as you know, we used to have it. We have to find ways to engage their minds and engage their bodies in a meaningful way. If we don't, then kids will find ways to entertain themselves. And I'm sure that Chief Mentor will tell you that there are ways that young people have been entertaining themselves, sometimes in ways that are less desirable in our community. So again, I think for us it's a continuing conversation that we will be releasing, again, based on science as we go forward. Again, if we do, and I hope that we do, and I plan that we will have summer activities to include pools, expect things to be drastically different. Expect there to be, shorter sessions, multiple sessions, less capacity than we were used to. But again, ways of keeping our young people safe. That includes youth sports that the city sponsors. Again, I'll leave that to the professionals to make recommendations to us. But I just can't see us going in summer and not doing anything. I mean, there's too many young people out there who need that type of engagement. Ms. Savannah, I don't know if you have anything to add to
Phase 3.
That's phase 3. Thank you. That is phase 3. Thank you. Ms. Katie, good morning.
Hey, Mr. Mayor. My question is regarding the phased reopening. Are you able to go into any more detail about, kind of what that will entail, what each phase would be, and where you are with that?
You want to use it?
Okay. Sure. So, and this will be available on our website this afternoon. Phase 1 is the high priority services. We know people have been screaming for recycling and yard waste pickup on a regular basis, and other critical. We're also looking and preparing and prepping our work sites for the safe return of our remote workplaces. Again, we will continue to encourage social distancing, face coverings, and temperature checks in our city facilities. Phase 2 is that we bring our remote soldiers home, so to speak. We bring them back to work, working safely within our buildings. Again, social distancing, face coverings, and temperature checks will be required for all staff and visitors. Phase 3 is that we will reopen our city facilities under limited hours. Access will depend on the continued return of remote workforce to workplaces. Again, social distancing, face coverings, temperature checks required. Phase 4 will be city facilities open to the public for regular hours. City facilities open with regular hours and access, and we'll continue to phase people back into the workforces, the workplaces from the remote workplaces, and we'll continue social distancing for our staff and employees. And then phase 5 is the COVID, pre-COVID status, or what we call a new normal, and that we open it to public with no restrictions, but now we have a new operating plan. And for us, again, we know that people are more adapt to gradual changes rather than abrupt changes. So I'm grateful to the city manager and city team for doing it in a phased-in way that allows people to get used to our new norm. City council meetings will probably happen remotely for quite some time, probably up and through phase 5. Again, we just want to make sure that we're going to have people in our space to protect our aldermen, to protect our citizens. I think we've gotten pretty good with the Zoom stuff. So.
Thank you. And then I just had one other question about this upcoming weekend with Memorial Day, and if last week it was any indication, there's going to be a lot of tourists, a lot of people coming to town. So, how do you kind of prepare for that, especially obviously during a pandemic?
Putting the message out that Savannah is keeping the faith but following the science. People coming here, we don't mind them being here. We want them to engage in safe practices. I don't know what they do where they're from, but here we want them to make sure that they are respecting our city, respecting the employees that work in our hospitality and tourism industry, that we respect those that are working in our stores and our various businesses, to make sure to protect them during that time. We want to send that message out very clearly. Again, I was very disturbed about the bars and the restaurants that are acting like bars. That's unacceptable. And my position on that is going to be zero tolerance for that. One business in particular, folks were lined up around the corner. That's pre-COVID. That's not going to happen. And so we're giving fair warning that we're going to cite people. We recognize you need to have a business. We are, again, supporting people through Safe Savannah and getting businesses back to where they were. But we're not going to tolerate just flagrant abuses of not only the governor's order, but what our intent here is as it relates to keeping people safe, which is not going to tolerate it. All right? Thank you. Tanya Adam, WJCL. Okay. Well, I think it's time. Ms. Hamilton, you don't have anything? I was that clear?
Are you surprised?
You usually first.
No, I think what everyone else asked was kind of what I was curious about too. The only thing I guess that I would be curious about, going back to the possibility of requiring people out and about in Savannah to be wearing face masks. I know last week you had said that you were going to have the city attorney explore the legality of it, and that you've all come to the conclusion that if that's something that you would want to do, you could ask people to do that out in public spaces. What, I guess, if you could briefly go over what is the legality of it that makes you able to do that?
Well, I think the attorney is available. The governor said quite distinctly to be able to keep people safe, encourage the use of face coverings. We believe in keeping people safe, that we can mandate that. I didn't go to law school, but I did sleep at a Holiday Inn Express last night, And so that's my legal interpretation. Mr. Attorney, I don't know if you want to add to that, but hopefully you can make sense of what I just said.
I almost got out here without any questions. No, that's essentially exactly correct. In Governor Kemp's most recent executive order on page 2, he strongly encourages the use of masks by both residents and visitors, and there's some specific areas where you don't have to. If you're in your home or if you're eating, you don't have to use the mask. And then we've always understood that we cannot pass an ordinance or an emergency declaration that is more or less restrictive than his executive order. But because he encouraged or strongly encouraged the use of masks within his executive order, us requiring the use of masks is not inconsistent with that order. That's the legal path to allow it.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Mr.
And again, we don't want to require people to do that. We don't. We would much rather people voluntarily decide, you know what, again, in the public space, we're not, if you're in your car, if you're in your home, again, we want people to just take safe measures. But if it's clear that there's people unwilling to, then we as a government trying to protect its people, and me as someone who swore to do that, then we're going to be able to do that. I'll be meeting with faith leaders later on this week, because of course Savannah is a community of faith, and so many of them have still not opened and don't plan to open anytime soon. But I want to create an opportunity for them, like the business community, to develop some safe practices that we can adopt universally once these houses of faith decide to open. What are some of the safe things in this new normal? And so I found it very effective, like working with our business community, working with our faith community, for them to kind of start thinking and talking about these things, so that when they do go back to in-person services, and hopefully it won't be really soon, but they'll have some approved ways that are backed by science of keeping the parishioners safe. Again, we remember that it was a religious service down in Albany that caused that outbreak. And so we want to make sure that our faith community is doing all that they can. And I appreciate them. They've been in constant contact with our office. We've been engaging with them often. And so this is our second conversation of sorts about how we move forward.
Have you been able to still have the city staff be COVID-free? Last time I asked, no one had tested positive.
At this point, we've only had 2 employees test positive, and given a workforce of over 2,400 that are in the public space and in people's way all of the time, I think we are absolutely blessed as an organization.
Are they okay? Or I know you can't say too much detail about that.
We're blessed.
Pardon?
We're blessed. We believe they'll be fine.
Okay.
So, like we like to do toward the end, from the man cave at the Evans house, he's appeared, so that means that this is coming to an end.
Hey, you've told me I have to wait until the end.
That's right.
That's fine. I think everything's been touched on for the most part. I did want to ask about the bars that were found in, violation of the governor's order this past weekend that you mentioned. Were they all around town, or were they just in the downtown area? In about how many, would you say?
Some of the more egregious ones might have been downtown just because it's more evident. But I think it's around, I've received complaints from around the city of people sometimes in the establishment saying, this is really not safe, I'm leaving. I got people calling, people sending messages, and much to the chagrin of the city manager, I fired off an email probably a little after midnight. I knew he was sleeping, saying, hey, we've got to do something about this. I think Savannah police acted quickly, responded appropriately. Again, they've been trying very hard to warn people, but we've had some people who don't seem to get it, so then they've been cited. And again, if the behavior continues, I'll be a proponent of shutting them down.
Okay. And again, around roughly, you said almost 100 or 500 rather businesses that have signed up with the Savannah Safe Pledge.
Yeah, I mean, we got some information from Columbus, Ohio. Was it Columbus? Columbus, Ohio did a very similar program to ours. As you know, Columbus is well over 1 million people. It had 50 businesses sign up. And here is Savannah, over 500. I will also tell you that I want to make it very clear that if businesses are signing up for this Safe Pledge, we expect them to follow it. I went into several businesses over the weekend, popped in, and I'll tell you, walking in with a baseball cap on and a mask, I walked in and a couple of businesses were complying. There were a couple that didn't get it. And I'm just like, oh, hi, I was talking about your Safe Serve Pledge. They're like, oh, yeah, we're doing that. I was like, well, where's your mask? Wear your gloves. They said, oh, well, we don't have them. I said, thank you very much. And then on Monday, I made some phone calls to some of these general managers and saying, either you're going to opt out, but you're not going to continue to say you are doing these safe practices and you're not doing it. And we've had a couple that have opted out personally, because they felt like they could not keep that up. And my encouragement is that for people who want to utilize safe businesses, and we want them to utilize businesses that are doing safe practices, that they go to SavannahSafe.com, find the business of their choice. There's everything from food places to funeral homes. Take those opportunities. Utilize people who are committed to keeping you safe. Everyone knows this is not mandatory. If businesses don't want to do it, they don't have to do it. But I'm just excited that 500 businesses has agreed to keep the faith but follow the science. And I think that is a testament to our total community. And again, I just salute these businesses stepping up at a time when we need the corporate community to step up.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Mayor, do you know how many businesses were cited this past weekend?
I do not know, but we will make that available to you this afternoon.
Thank you.
Nick and Giles get together. Yeah. Okay. We'll make it available to you. Anything else? Well, again, Ms. Milton, you're the only person who did not ask me something outside of Mr. Van Bremer. So I'm here ready to be offended. So we're glad to have the Savannah Tribune. What's your question? You got to have something. Unmute and ask the question.
I can ask you something. I want to know. You mentioned the early voting. Is it just going to be that one Saturday for voting?
Yes. My understanding is just one Saturday. Again, social distancing and then a very tight window. It'll be only one Saturday for voting. And again, we encourage everybody to get out and vote. So again, I just thank all of you. You help us get our message out, and we appreciate your partnership during this very critical time. Again, we're Savannah strong, and we're going to be Savannah safe. And we're going to be Savannah